I want to be square with everybody. I'm never really going to be able to build the structure of my new life until this foundational work is done. That's what the 12 steps really are. This work is the process by which a person who is really hurt can build a strong foundation so that they can then build the structure of a brand new life. And that's what I want for you. Welcome back to the Struggle and Strive podcast. I'm Estil Wallace, your host. We're getting towards the end of our 12-step series where we're unpacking the 12 steps. That doesn't matter if you're an alcoholic, a gambler, if you're into smoking fentanyl, if you're from the 90s and you like smoking crack, or if you're an overeater, if you're addicted to sex and love, or if you're just interested in the 12 steps. Maybe you know somebody that's going through them. Maybe there's somebody close in your life that's in recovery. Welcome. Today we're talking about steps 8 and 9. 8 is made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. And then 9 is made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Now, a lot of opinions go a lot of different directions on how to make amends. I'm not going to get into every possible scenario under the sun today. I am going to give you some of the basics, and really, when I say the basics, they're some of the bigger, more common things that I've seen over 20 years of recovery and working with a lot of people. So first of all, let's talk about step 8. If you have a look on the screen, we're going to pull up an 8-step list. This is just an example. If you watched our episode on steps 4 and 5, you'll see that it's the same inventory. So when we make an 8-step list, it generally starts by taking everyone from the resentment list and transposing them onto a new 2-column list. So the first column says to whom I owe amends. The second column is my part. Well, that is what I owe amends for. Now, in addition to everybody from the 4th step, there may be people that I owe amends to that I don't necessarily resent. If you're looking at my example, I put my 3 from the resentment list and I added Chase Bank. So I don't necessarily have anything against Chase Bank, but I might owe them in this example $1,500. I put the infinite banking scam, if you're familiar with that. I've sponsored some people in the last 20 years, and that's where I guess I've never done it, but isn't that, Danny, where you deposit a fake check and then pull out the money before they can catch it? I'm pretty sure they caught all those people that did that. I've sponsored a couple people that did that. Anyway, I added that as an example. So I'm not mad at Chase, but they made my 8th step because I harmed them. And you can also add maybe extended family that, again, didn't make your resentment inventory, but you owe them an amends for, the time you threw up at the Thanksgiving table or were locked in a bathroom all day on Christmas or whatever. I don't know what you did. And I put it really clearly to whom I owe amends. Mom, for holding a resentment. My former employer for being selfish, self-seeking, and making decisions out of fear. I owe amends to myself for being selfish, self-seeking, making decisions out of fear, and being dishonest with myself. And I owe Chase Bank $1,500, evidently. Now, how to make these amends? This is where it can get sticky. When guys are doing this on their own, they'll look at their 8th step. They won't add certain people or institutions to the 8th step because they're afraid of making amends in the 9th step. So they pre-edit the list. I want to encourage you not to do that. The 8th step is just a list. It's not making amends. It's just making the list. So just make the list and then get with a trusted person like a sponsor to go through who are we going to make an approach to first, second, and third? Who are we going to postpone until fill in the blank happens? And are there some that maybe are best not to be approached? That is the case with some amends. So let's sort of talk about some of these things. I mean, you've got everything from ranging from maybe you owe a hotel $600 for stealing their bicycle. Not that I ever did that. Or maybe you owe amends to a family member for cutting them out of your life when they really wanted the best for you, but they seemed intruding and you cut them out of your life. Maybe you owe amends for, to a former employer that didn't make your resentment list, that never did fire you. Maybe you owe your current employer an amends. Maybe you've taken money. Maybe you've maybe you've performed poorly. Maybe you've had other people cover your work. I have no idea what you've done. I'm not here to put words in your mouth. I'm just encouraging you to make the list. Once you've got the list, Then it's time to talk about that list with a sponsor. A sponsor who's been through these steps can help guide you on the nuance of each particular one. So I've got an example script that you can use. It's included in the study guide. So if you've never made an amends is not a generic apology. Hey, I'm sorry, I was a real dirtbag before. That's not really what we're aiming at. I'll read the script for you. It's in the study guide. It goes like this. As you may or may not know, I am now a sober member of the 12-step program, and as a requirement of the 12 steps, I must try to right the wrongs of my past, or I'm sure to drink and use again. Here's how I harmed you. Here's a fun one. You say, is there anything else? It's an optional question. Sometimes we might have forgotten. They might say, yeah, you owe me $500. Or they might say, yeah, you pissed behind my TV that one New Year's. I don't know what you did. As you may or may not know, I'm now a sober member of a 12-step program. As a requirement of these steps, I need to right the wrongs of my past, or I'm sure to drink again. I believe I harmed you by blank, peeing behind your TV. Is there anything I can do to make this right? And this is where you give them the dignity to say, yeah, you owe me $500, or you owe me a TV, or in some cases they'll say, yeah, I mean, there's this other thing that you didn't even bring up just now that happened. Or what's common, and I wanna give you some preparation for, is, to your surprise, it's been to my surprise every time it's happened to me, someone that I've harmed and I'm making this direct amends to will look me in the eyes, often with nothing but compassion, and say, you don't have to do anything. I just want you to keep doing what you're doing. Now, if you're the person making the amends and somebody says that to you, that sounds like you're off the hook, right? You're not. You're not at all. If I tell somebody, hey, I'm sorry for the way I treated you in XYZ relationship, how can I make it right? And they look at me and say, you know what? You seem to be doing great. Water under the bridge. You just keep doing what you're doing. What they're assuming when they say that is that I'm going to continue on the path I'm on, which means I need to continue through the 12 steps. I need to help other men find God. I need to continue with prayer, meditation. I need to continue being honest and helping people and continuing to grow as an individual. So they're actually asking me for a lifelong task, a lifelong living amends. It's a big deal. It's one that new people usually think they're off the hook when grandma says that they don't need to do nothing. So I want to warn you and prepare you for that. There are people that, for whatever reason, when you go to make your amends, they will say, please go away. Please fuck off. I don't want to ever hear from you again. If that happens, I want to assure you, you have now done your best. You have done your part. If you have made an attempt to make direct amends to this person or entity or organization, and they have said, get lost, we don't ever want to hear from you again, you're not welcome here, you can cross them off the list. You made an attempt. You tried to set things right. The truth is, some things can never be set right. And let's be grown up about that. There are things on my 8-step list that I was not able to fix. I was granted grace by a couple of people who said, just keep doing what you're doing. And I spent the remaining years of our relationship, my grandmother, namely for one of them, who said, just keep doing what you're doing. That wasn't going to fill the bill. Just me hearing that, I certainly wasn't off the hook in my mind with my childhood wasn't great, but I didn't treat them great either. I was a real heathen, if you know what I mean. So in the remaining years of my grandmother's life, I did what many call a living amends, where I was attentive to her. I would take her on dates. I would pick her up and take her places. Always I paid. I'd never let her pay for anything. I would go to her house. She would call me and say, hey, I've got a light out in my bathroom. Can you change it? When my uncle lived with her, he could have changed the light. She's reaching out to have a relationship with me. Now that I was a healthy person, capable of having healthy boundaries, healthy relationships, she wanted more of me around. And that was an opportunity for me to engage in that relationship and really build some memories with her. And I'm glad I did, because the years weren't that many. Whenever possible, try to do these face-to-face. Zoom is better. Zoom or Google Meet is better than a phone call. A phone call is better than a letter, and a letter is better than nothing. So again, utilizing the experience of somebody who's already done proper and effective 9-step amends, I would defer to their judgment if I were in your shoes, but know that there's no one way to do it. There is a specific way, but that's going to have a lot of nuance. Whether you meet somebody face to face or whether it's over Zoom or whether you write them a letter is really going to be up to your circumstances and whether or not you have a freaking restraining order against you or what, I don't know what's going on in your life. So making amends can be sticky, and navigating each one with care is really important. Another one many people don't think about when they do their original 8-step list is financial amends. They may have, one or two people on the list that they owe money to for this reason or that reason. But when I sponsor guys, I generally, once they've got their list put together, we then pull their credit report. This is a real easy, simple way to just pull up the credit report, see what's on there. Maybe you do owe money to some creditors. Some people know their credit's trashed and they're like, I don't want to do that. But like going to the dentist, if you haven't been in a long time, let's do the work. Let's have a look at your credit report, and let's see what we can approach first, second, third, and let's make a beginning. If nothing else, let's make a beginning so that over time you can get this stuff off of your plate, off of your spiritual plate. What we don't want is for you to walk around the world looking over your shoulder, so to speak, because you owe money here and you didn't pay your creditor there and blah, blah, blah. This 9th step is really an opportunity to look the world in the eyes again, to be an equal amongst your peers. Not that you're less than anyway, but that's how we feel a lot of the times, especially when we're in debt, when we owe. And I don't just mean with money. I mean, when we owe spiritually, when there's people that we have wronged in our past that we haven't made an attempt to make things right. That's really what this is about. How can I get square with God and God's children again? Because that's what I want. I want to be square with everybody. I'm never really going to be able to build the structure of my new life until this foundational work is done. That's what the 12 steps really are. This work is the process by which a person who is really hurt can build a strong foundation so that they can then build the structure of a brand new life. And that's what I want for you. That's what I hope for you. That's what I encourage you to do. And if you have more questions about specifics with amends or how to handle, specific situations, and you want to leave that in the comment thread, obviously leave the names of the innocent out of it, but feel free to hit us with your questions. As usual, thank you for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next episode.